Right, thank you, Adam. And guys, no, it's not Tuesday, but we are checking in with Nick Sapienza for our Set for Life segment. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today.
Of course, good to be back.
It's good to have you back. So we talked about kind of defining our goals financially, setting up a plan. I guess the next question is, what's next? How do we kind of stay on target to reach those goals?
Yeah, great question. So we like to say that financial planning is not a one-time event. It's a continual process. It doesn't need to be the forefront of everything that you do every single day, but it is a continual process. So you want to just keep track and start to be mindful and be intentional about what you're doing. So we have our GPS established, right? Our goal, our plan, and our system. So we have our projection, we have our vehicle, which we've talked about just keeping it simple with something like a target date fund.
Yeah.
Now what do we do next? Now we have the future kind of in check. We want to bring it back to the personal level.
Yeah.
So start to try it out, experiment, see how it works for you. If you feel like you're saving too much and you're having to cut in other areas that you don't want to, make an adjustment. Go back to the plan. If you feel like maybe you have a little extra room and you could do a little bit more, then make that adjustment as well. Feed that info back to the plan. But just do it, on a monthly basis, maybe even a quarterly basis. Keep track of what you're doing. Make adjustments as needed. Go back, look at the plan, and say, okay, well, where do I end up if I do it this way versus that way? But you'll start to find that balance. The biggest thing about personal finance is that people are looking for the optimal answer. That's kind of a theme right now. We're kind of like in this optimization stage. Our take is that there's a difference between optimal for what's in a spreadsheet and optimal for you. Okay, so it's like optimal versus reasonable.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out what's reasonable for you. And then again, this comes back to the diet analogy that we've used, the training analogy. Have you ever heard of the Whole30 before?
I think so.
It's an elimination diet.
Okay.
Right? So for 30 days, cut everything out of your diet except for the bare essentials and eat as clean as possible. And then after 30 days, you can start to add things back in. But this is kind of a reality check. I like to look at it as a hard reset. And you can do the same thing with your training program, with your personal finances. When it comes to personal finances, eliminate everything from your budget except for what you absolutely have to spend money on. So that might be your bills, your memberships, your loans, things like that. After 30 days, start to add things back in if you like. But you're gonna know when you look at your monthly statement, you're gonna know whether or not you feel better about having the extra money in your savings account or spending it on that thing or spending maybe a little frivolously. And I think we often get carried away, right?
Sometimes we do get a little carried.
It's good to pump the brakes every now and then.
Yeah, so how often should we kind of like look at our finances and do that factory reset? Once a month, every few months?
I'm all about the hard reset. So I think it's monthly and it's being very intentional and very specific and just kind of having a sit down looking at it. And then from there you can go quarterly. And then after you kind of get into a rhythm and you've started to refine your process, go semi-annually, whatever works best for you. But that's it, is that you have to be an experimenter. You have to find out what works best for you.
And I feel like with finances, with everything, it takes a few days to become a habit.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's easy to get off track, but I love this idea of that factory reset to get us back on track and get us to where we want to be.
And ultimately you still have that system and you have that process, so you know kind of what you can do. And how it fits into that whole process.
This is great advice for our friends at home. If they have any questions, how can they contact you?
Ritholtzwealth.com. You can Google my name, Nick Sapienza. It's up here on the screen behind us, and that should pull up.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Good to be back.
Of course. And if you guys at home want to rewatch this and see our other series for this segment, head to our website, kdn.com. But guys, stick around. It is Thursday.